The sky was clear, birds flew calmly, and people were busy with their daily lives. No one expected that the day would change everything. At exactly 10:47 a.m., a strange shadow covered the city of London. People looked up and froze. A giant ship, dark silver and shaped like a long blade, hovered silently in the sky. It didn't make a sound. It just floated, unmoving, blocking the sunlight. All over the world, the same thing happened. More ships appeared, one above New York, another over Moscow, one above Tokyo, and many more. Every government activated its military forces. Fighter jets flew up to meet the ships. Satellites zoomed in. People ran into shelters, confused and scared. Then, without warning, a bright blue beam came down from the largest ship above London. It touched the ground and slowly formed into a figure, tall, strong, and glowing. It was a woman, but not a human woman. She stood over 8 feet tall, her skin silver like liquid metal. Her eyes glowed blue, and her armor looked like it was made from stars. She had long white hair flowing behind her, and in her hands were 2 weapons glowing with power. People screamed and ran. Cameras recorded everything. She lifted her hand and spoke in a voice that echoed through every speaker and screen in the world. "I am Valana, daughter of the Zyrene Empire. This planet stands accused of hiding enemies of our kind. Surrender nowhere. Be destroyed." No one responded. Valana waited a few seconds. Then she raised her hand again. A pulse of energy exploded from her, breaking windows and shaking buildings. It wasn't a full attack, just a warning. In the command center of the United Nations, leaders from around the world shouted over each other. No one knew what to do. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to talk. But the fear in the room was clear. Within minutes, Valana moved to action. She flew at impossible speed to a military base in Europe. She hovered above it and pointed her weapon. Down. A beam of light shot out, melting tanks and vehicles instantly. Soldiers fired at her, but their bullets and missiles bounced off her armor like dust. From Japan to Brazil, other alien warriors, less powerful but still deadly, began to attack. But it was Valana who caused the most fear. She moved alone, strong and silent, destroying every weapon that tried to stop her. Planes fell from the sky. Satellites lost contact. The world was losing. In a small underground command post in northern Canada, a soldier named Tom watched the disaster on a screen. He wasn't a general. He wasn't famous. Just a soldier who had served quietly for years. He saw the same thing over and over. Alana only attacked when weapons were fired at her. But there was something strange too. In one video, a young child had run into her path. She had paused. Just for a moment, she hadn't harmed the child. Instead, she had flown away. Tom leaned forward. Maybe she wasn't just a destroyer. Maybe she was following rules, some kind of alien code, while others talked of surrender. Tom felt something deep inside. He couldn't just sit and watch. He didn't know what he could do. He wasn't special, but he had to try. Back in London, Valana stood again in the center of the city. Buildings were broken, cars were flipped, no fires burned in the distance. But she stood quietly now, waiting for the humans to answer her message. No one came forward. She raised her hand again, and then someone stepped into the street, a human alone. It was Tom. He walked slowly, his hands empty, no gun, no armor, just a soldier in simple clothes. Cameras zoomed in, the world watched. Valana saw him and lowered her arm. She looked confused. Why would a human face her alone? Tom stopped a few feet away from her. He looked up into her glowing eyes and spoke calmly. "I'm not here to fight. I want to talk." Valana tilted her head. Her weapons didn't move, but she didn't fire. "Why are you doing this?" Tom asked. Tom felt a strange pressure around him, like soft wind pressing from all sides. The world blinked, and suddenly he was no longer in the middle of the broken city. He was inside. The alien ship, everything around him glowed. The walls were smooth and silver, but they moved slowly, like they were alive. Lights floated in the air like tiny stars. Strange symbols lit up on the walls as Valana walked ahead, silent and calm. Tom followed her, his boots clicking on the S. Flory kept looking around, trying to stay calm. He was deep inside the most dangerous ship on Earth, standing beside the most powerful being he had ever seen. But he felt no fear now. Valana hadn't heard him. She had chosen to listen. Finally, they reached a wide room with a high ceiling. A large circular table stood in the center. Holograms floated above it, images of Earth, maps. Glowing dots. Va. Lana turned to face him. "You speak without fear," she said. "That is rare among your kind." Tom stayed steady. Most people are afraid when they're attacked. "You came with weapons. You destroyed cities. They only defended themselves." Valana looked at the floating map. "Your leaders refused to speak. They hid behind weapons. I gave them a warning." Tom stepped closer. "Then let me ask why. Are you here? What did we do?" Valana stared at him for a moment, then raised her hand. The holograms changed. Now they showed a planet green, peaceful, full of blue oceans. Then came another image. Fire, destruction, strange ships attacking. Screams echoed in the background. "This was my home," she said. "We called it Zirin, world of peace," until a group of traitors came. They wore the face of allies, but they destroyed our cities and vanished into space. Tom watched quietly. The pain in her voice was clear. "We tracked their signal," she continued. "It led us here, to Earth. They are hiding among your kind."
Oh.
Tom frowned. "And you think the whole planet is guilty because of a few criminals?" Valana looked down. "The Zyrene believe in justice, but our leaders feared delay. They sent me to bring results." Quickly, Tom crossed his arms. "You came to find the traitors, that's fair. But destroying cities and attacking people, that's not justice, that's war." Valana's eyes glowed a little brighter. For a second, Tom, I thought she might get angry. But instead, she looked thoughtful. "You speak with reason," she said. "I have not heard that from your leaders, only fear and weapons." Tom nodded. "Maybe because they didn't know what you wanted. You never explained, you just appeared and attacked. It's not too late." Valana looked at him. "Would you do, human?" Tom took a deep breath. "Let me help you. If there are enemies hiding here, we'll find them. But you have to stop the attacks. You need Earth's help, not its ashes." For a moment, the ship was silent. Then, slowly, Valana turned and walked to the table. She touched a symbol. Another image appeared. It showed a hidden base deep in the mountains somewhere in South America. This was the last known signal from the traitors. She said, "A week ago then, nothing." Tom stepped forward. "Let's go there. Together." Valana studied him. "You are only one soldier." Tom gave a small smile. "Sometimes that's enough." Valana tilted her head, and she spoke a word. In her language, the ship responded, and the floor beneath them began to glow. Moments later, they were flying through the sky in a smaller ship. It was smooth and silent, faster than anything Tom had ever seen. He looked out the window and saw clouds rush past like waves.
Yes.
Valana sat beside him, quiet. After a while, she spoke again. "You said you were not special." "When others hid?" Tom thought for a moment, 'cause someone had to. Everyone else was afraid, waiting for someone else to act. "I couldn't just watch anymore." Valana nodded slowly. "That is what leaders do. They act when no one else will." Tom laughed lightly. "I'm not a leader." "You are," Valana said. Even if you don't see it yet, the ship began to slow. Below them, thick jungle spread across the mountains. A hidden entrance to an old human research station lay between two cliffs. It was quiet, too quiet. They landed nearby. Valana handed Tom a small device. "This will protect you. If something happens, press it." Together, they entered the facility. Inside, it was dark and cold. Dust covered the walls. Machines stood silent. But as they walked deeper, signs of life appeared. Fresh footprints, broken wires, empty containers. Someone had been here recently then. They heard it, a soft noise, like metal sliding against stone. Valana raised her weapon. Tom kept his hand near the device she gave him. Suddenly, a figure jumped out. A strange alien, smaller than Valana, with dark armor and sharp claws. It hissed and ran toward them. Before Tom could move, Valana fired. A bright flash knocked the alien to the wall. It slumped, unconscious. More footsteps echoed. Valana stood in front of Tom. "There are more," Tom whispered. "We need proof. Let's not kill them lest we have to." Valana nodded. They moved carefully, clearing each room in a hidden chamber. They found computers still working. Valana touched them, and symbols filled the air. Her eyes widened. "This is it," she said. "It's messages, coordinates, the proof we need." Tom looked at the screens. "Then let's show the world." Tom stared at the glowing screen in front of him. Strange alien symbols moved across it like waves. Valana's fingers moved quickly over the control pad. She understood the language after all. It was part of her world. "This is everything," she said quietly. "This is sent to the enemy. Fleet, secret paths through human space, their hiding places, even their real names." Tom stepped closer. "So they really were hiding here?" Valana nodded. "Yes. Not many, but enough to cause destruction. Enough to make the Xeran Empire fear Earth." Tom looked at the unconscious alien in the corner of the room. It was still, breathing, bound by Valana's energy cuffs. The creature had sharp eyes and armor that shimmered, but it didn't look powerful anymore. It looked defeated. "We need to bring this proof to your people," Tom said. "To Earth and to your empire. Show them we're not your enemy." Valana stared at the screen for a moment, then turned to him. "You are right. But first, we must get out of here." As if on cue, the ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lights flickered. "What was that?" Tom asked, tensing. Valana checked her wrist device. I triggered a self-destruct sequence. "This base will collapse in 10 minutes. Tom's heart raced. "Then let's move." They ran through the halls, Valana guiding the way. Tom held the data chip tightly every step they took. The ship above moved closer to danger. Behind them, the walls cracked and metal groaned. Suddenly, 2 enemy aliens blocked their path. These weren't weak. They were tall, armored, and carried energy blades. Valana stepped forward. Her eyes glowed. Tom pulled out the small shield device she had given him. "I can help." "No," Valana said calmly. "Let me." One of the aliens charged. Valana met it head-on. Their weapons clashed with loud sparks. Tom watched in awe. Valana moved like wind-fast, powerful, graceful. She dodged, struck, turned, and struck again. In moments, both enemies were down. She didn't pause. They reached the exit just as a loud explosion shook the mountain. Rocks began to fall. Tom jumped out with Valana right behind him, the ship hovering above. The trees lowered a beam of light that pulled them up. Inside, both of them fell to the floor, breathing hard. Tom smiled. That ... was close. Valana looked at him and nodded. He kept calm, even when death was near. Tom laughed lightly. "I guess I'm getting used to danger now." She stood up, holding the data chip. "Now we send the truth." Back on Earth, the situation was still tense. Governments were confused. Some thought Valana had taken Tom hostage. Others believed Earth would be destroyed. Cities were still recovering from earlier attacks. People lived in fear. But then every screen on Earth suddenly turned on. Valana appeared, standing tall, calm, and serious. Beside her stood Tom. "To the people of Earth," she began, "I bring truth. You are not the enemy. You are not guilty. The traitors who attacked my world came here, but they acted without your knowledge." Images played behind her, clear proof of the hidden aliens, their messages, and the crimes they had committed. One of your own, Valana continued, stepped forward when others would not. He showed courage, reason, and honesty. Because of him, a war was stopped. She turned to Tom. The camera followed. Tom looked nervous, but spoke clearly. "We don't want war. We never did. but we are ready to stand for what's right. We want peace and we're ready to work for it. Message ended. The world was silent, and then dashed cheers. People came out into the streets. Children smiled. Soldiers lowered their weapons. A human and an alien had stood side by side and saved the planet in the hours that followed. Things began to change quickly. Vallana met with human leaders not as a threat, but as a guest. She shared knowledge about the Zyrene Empire there, history, and the war they had suffered. Earth promised to help find and stop the remaining traitors. Vallana's soldiers, who had been watching from space, stopped all attacks. Many of them were surprised by her message, but they followed her orders without question. In a private moment, Vallana and Tom stood on a balcony, looking at the stars. "The Empire will call me back," she said. "They will want answers." Tom nodded. "What will you tell them?" She looked at him, her voice softer now. "That I found something powerful here. Not weapons, not fear, but courage, humanity." Tom smiled. "And what about you?" She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "I came to punish. Instead, I learned. I saw what true strength is." Tom chuckled. "That sounds like a message your leaders might not like. They will understand," she said. There was silence between them for a while. Stars shone above, peaceful again. Then Vallana said, "You changed everything, Tom." Tom looked at her. "I didn't do it alone." She nodded, double quotes. "No," she said. "You were the first to step forward." The Earth was no longer under attack, but everything had not returned to normal. People still remembered the fear, still remembered the fire in the sky, the explosions, and the giant ships. But they also remembered one brave moment. A human soldier named Tom stepped forward and faced Vallana, the powerful alien warrior. Now, Tom was no longer just a soldier. People all over the world knew his name. News reporters called him the man who stopped the war. Children looked up to him, but Tom didn't care about fame. He only wanted to protect the world and keep the peace. Vallana, too, had changed. She was still strong and proud, but there was something different in her eyes. She had come to Earth to punish, but she stayed to understand. Inside the alien ship, which now hovered quietly above the Atlantic Ocean, Tom and Vallana stood in a large room filled with floating screens. Each screen showed a different part of Earth's cities, forests, deserts, oceans. One screen showed her home planet, Zyrene. Vallana looked at it in silence. "It was beautiful," she said softly. "Before it was attacked," Tom stood beside her. "It still is. You'll rebuild it." She nodded. "Yes, but not with hate. Not anymore." Tom looked at another screen. It showed a map with several red dots blinking. "What are those?" he asked. Vallana pressed her palm against the wall. The map zoomed in. "These are the last known hiding places of the traitors," she explained, "scattered across your planet. Some are alone, others have created secret bases." Tom frowned. "Dant. And Earth didn't know?" "They are clever," Vallana said. "They took human form. They used your technology. They blended in." Tom's eyes widened. "And they could be anywhere. In cities, in companies. ... Even in governments?" Vallana nodded slowly. "Yes, that is why I acted fast when I first arrived. I thought the humans were helping them." Tom understood now why she had come in anger. But she had made a mistake. She had blamed everyone. And now she wanted to fix it. "We need to tell Earth's leaders," he said. "Show them this." Vallana looked uncertain. "Will they believe me?" "They believed you when you stopped attacking," Tom said. "They believed you when you showed the truth. You have earned their respect now." Vallana walked to the center of the room. With a wave of her hand, the screens disappeared. Then, "We will call them," she said. The next day, world leaders gathered at a United Nations base. It was the first time many of them had been in the same room since the attacks. Soldiers stood nearby, ready but not aggressive. Above them, a large screen turned on. Vallana appeared. Tom stood beside her, calm and clear. Vallana spoke first. "I am Vallana of the Zyrene. I speak to you not as a conqueror, but as a friend." The room stayed silent. Everyone listened carefully. There are enemies of my people hiding on your world, she continued. They are not humans, but they wear your faces. They caused the war between us. But now, with your help, we can end this peacefully. She showed them the map with the red dots. Each point was a warning, a danger, but also a chance to stop another war. Tom stepped forward. We want your help. These enemies don't care about Earth or Zyrine. They only want power. But if we work together, we can find them before they cause more harm. One of the leaders, a woman from Asia, stood up. And what will happen to them? Valana answered. They will be judged by my people's laws. But we will not harm any innocent humans. I give my word. Another leader from Africa asked, Can we trust you? Tom looked at him and said, She trusted me. That's why I'm still alive. The room was quiet for a moment. Then one by one, the leaders nodded. Earth would help. The operation began. Within hours, Valana shared her technology. Her ship scanned the planet from space. Human agents worked on the ground. Together, they tracked signals, watched for strange behavior, and searched for signs of the hidden aliens. Tom joined the team too. He wanted to see it through, didn't want more battles, but he knew this mission was important. Their first target was a quiet town in South America. Valana's sensors had found an energy reading deep underground. It was small but strong. Tom, Valana, and a team of human and alien soldiers moved in. They wore simple gear and avoided attention. This time, they didn't want fear. They wanted answers. They found the entrance hidden beneath an old barn. It led to a tunnel made of steel and stone. The air was cold. Lights flickered. Suddenly, voices echoed. Tom raised his hand. The team stopped. Valana stepped forward slowly. Wait here, she whispered. She walked into the open room beyond. Inside were 3 figures aliens in human form. They looked surprised to see her. One of them sneered. The great Valana? You've come alone. She held her head high. You are under arrest for war crimes against the Zyrine and for using Earth as your shield. The alien laughed. Who will stop us? You. And Tom stepped into the room. Calm and steady. No. All of us. Soldiers poured in behind him. The traitors reached for their weapons, but it was too late. Valana acted fast, disarming one with a swift move. The other 2 were caught and bound. No one was harmed. It ended in seconds. Valana looked at Tom. You were right. We needed each other. We're stronger, together. Back on the ship, Valana sent a message to her empire. It showed everything, the proof, the captures, and Earth's help. The Zyrine Council replied the next day. They accepted Earth's innocence, and they welcomed peace. The world was watching as Earth and the Zyrine Empire began a new chapter. Hidden traitors were caught, and proof had cleared the human's name. But peace was not yet fully secure. There were still dangers. The rogue faction could be anywhere, and their anger was dangerous. Tom and Valana knew this. They had to work closely to stop any more attacks. Their mission was no longer only to find the traitors, but to protect both their worlds from future harm. The alliance between humans and Zyrine was growing fast. Valana's soldiers, once feared invaders, now worked alongside human teams. They shared technology, training, and knowledge. Valana taught humans how to use Zyrine tools, and humans showed her new ways to think. One evening, Tom sat in the training room of the Zyrine ship. Around him, human soldiers practiced with new weapons and armor given by the Zyrine. The air buzzed with excitement and hope. Valana entered quietly. Tom, she said, there is news. Tom stood up. What is it? Our sensors detected unusual activity near the outer colonies of the Zyrine Empire, Valana explained. It looks like the rogue faction is gathering strength again. Tom frowned. How many? Valana shook her head. Too many to fight alone. Tom took a deep breath. Then we fight together. Valana smiled. Oh? I knew you would say that. The next day, Tom and Valana gathered a special team. It included humans with skills in strategy and technology, and Zyrene warriors with unmatched strength and speed. They prepared their ship for the journey to the outer colonies. The trip would take days through deep space, into unknown danger. As the ship flew, Tom looked at the stars through the window. "Do you think we can stop them?" Valana stood beside him. "We must. For both our worlds." The team arrived near a dark planet covered in swirling storms. It was the base for the rogue faction. Valana led the landing. The team moved carefully, using the shadows for cover. Suddenly, alarms blared. The rogue faction had detected them. The battle began. Zyrene warriors and human soldiers fought side by side. Valana moved through the enemy like a storm, powerful and fast. Tom used his skills to coordinate the team, giving orders and watching for danger. The rogue aliens fought hard. They were desperate and dangerous. But the new alliance was stronger. After hours of battle, the rogue faction retreated. Their base damaged, Tom and Valana stood together on the battlefield, breathing heavily. "We won today," Tom said. "But they will come back." Valana nodded. "Then we will be ready." Back on the ship, Tom and Valana reviewed the battle. The team had captured important data about the rogue faction's plans and leaders. "This information will help us stop their attacks before they happen," Valana said. Tom smiled. "It's the first time I've felt hope in a long time." Valana looked at him. Hope is a powerful weapon. Together, they sent the data to Earth and the Zyrene Empire. Both worlds prepared to defend themselves with new strength. As days passed, the alliance grew stronger. Humans and Zyrene shared their culture, stories, and dreams. One night, Valana stood outside the ship, watching a strange moonrise on Earth. The sky was full of stars. "You taught me a lot," Valana said softly, "about courage, kindness, and trust." Tom smiled. "And you taught me about honor and strength." They stood in silence, feeling the peace they had fought so hard to find. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time, they faced it together. The war was not over yet. Even after their victory at the outer colonies, the rogue faction remained a threat. They were clever, hiding deep in places few could reach. But Earth and the Zyrene Empire had learned to work together. They had become stronger. Valana and Tom stood before a large holographic map inside the command room of the Zyrene ship. The map showed several glowing points locations where the rogue faction was still active. "Each one of these points is a danger," Valana said, her voice serious. "We must act carefully." Tom nodded. "We can't rush. We have to plan." Together, they studied the data. The rogue faction was planning a new attack, one that could destroy entire cities on Earth. "We must stop them before it starts," Tom said firmly. Valana agreed. "This will be our hardest fight yet." They organized a team of the best soldiers from both worlds, humans skilled in technology and strategy, and Zyrene warriors with strength and speed beyond imagination. The plan was simple, but risky. They would split into groups and attack several rogue bases at once, stopping the enemy's plans before they could begin. Tom led one group. Valana led another. As their ships moved through space toward their targets, Tom felt a mixture of fear and hope. The stakes were higher than ever. "We have to protect Earth," he whispered to himself. The battle began. Tom's group landed on a rocky moon where the rogue faction had built a secret base. The place was dark and full of traps. Shadows moved. In the distance, Tom signaled his team to stay alert. Suddenly, alarms blared. The rogue aliens attacked with energy weapons and strange machines. Tom fought hard. But the enemy was strong and prepared. In the middle of the fight, Tom saw something unexpected. A group of civilians trapped in a small room. Without hesitation, he rushed to save them, using his shield device to protect them from the attacks. Valana's group faced fierce battles too. She moved like a storm, fighting with skill and courage. Her glowing eyes were a beacon of hope. After hours of fighting, the teams reunited at a safe point. Many were tired and wounded, but the enemy was defeated for now. Tom looked at Valana. "We did it." Valana smiled. "The war's not over. They both knew the truth. Back on Earth, the news spread quickly. People cheered the heroes, both human and Zyrene. Tom was offered medals and honors, but he refused. "I did what any soldier would do," he said humbly. "Valana addressed the world. This fight is for all of us. Together, we will protect peace." In quiet moments, Tom and Valana talked about their journey. "You have changed my view of humans," Valana said. "You are brave, kind, and strong." Tom smiled. "And you have shown me what honor means." Their friendship grew deeper, a bond not only of battle, but of respect and trust. The turning point had come. Earth and the Zyrene Empire were no longer enemies. They were allies, fighting side by side. The future was still unknown, but with courage. In unity, anything was possible. The war was finally over. The rogue faction had been defeated. Their bases were destroyed, their leaders captured, and their plans stopped. Earth was safe. The Zyrene Empire had seen the truth. Now for the first time in history, two very different worlds stood together not as enemies, but as allies. Peace had come at a great cost. Cities needed to be rebuilt. Families needed time to heal. But the most important thing was clear. The fear was gone. People no longer looked at the sky with worry. Instead, they looked up with hope. Tom walked through a quiet park in London. Children played, birds sang, and sunlight shined through the trees. It was a peaceful scene, so different from the chaos he had seen just weeks ago. He stopped near a small fountain, where a few kids were running through the water, laughing. Their joy made him smile. Valana stood nearby, watching the same scene. She was dressed in human clothing, now simple and light, but still carried the quiet strength of a warrior. "They are not afraid anymore," she said softly. Tom nodded. "I guess they believe the danger is past." She looked at him. "You? Do you believe that?" Tom was quiet for a moment. Then he answered, "I believe we've taken the first step. But peace is something we have to protect, every day." Valana agreed. "The real battle is not with weapons. It is with fear, lies, and hatred." Tom smiled. "Then let's keep fighting the right way." In the weeks that followed, Earth and the Zyrene Empire signed an official alliance. A new space station was built where humans and Zyrene could work together. Scientists exchanged ideas. Doctors shared medicines. Soldiers trained side by side, not to prepare for war, but to keep peace. Tom was offered a high-ranking position on the new council. He politely refused. "I'm not a politician," he said. "I'm a soldier. I want to help people. To rebuild." Instead, he led a special peacekeeping team, humans and Zyrene, who helped damage cities. He protected innocent people, stopped small groups who still believed in hate. Valana also chose to stay on Earth for a while. "I want to understand more," she said. "There is still much to learn." She visited schools, spoke with leaders, and even helped scientists design better technology using Zyrene knowledge. People began to respect her, not as a threat, not even just as a hero, but as a friend. One evening, Tom and Valana stood on the roof of a tall building in New York City. Below them, lights sparkled and music echoed from the streets. "Do you ever miss your home?" Tom asked. Valana looked up at the stars. "Every day. But this feels like home too now." Tom nodded. "I think Earth feels the same about you." There was silence for a moment. Then Valana said, "You changed everything, Tom." He looked surprised. "Me?" "Yes," she replied. "You stepped forward when no one else did. You didn't fight with fear. You used your voice, your heart." Tom looked down at the city. "Maybe, but I think anyone could have done it." "But they didn't," she said. "You did," Tom smiled. "I guess it was just the right time." A few days later, Valana received a message from the Zyrene Council. They wanted her to return to teach, to lead, to help guide their future based on what she had learned from Earth. "I must go back," she told Tom. "My people need me." He nodded. "They're lucky to have you." Valana stepped closer. "And what about you?" "I'll stay here," Tom said. "Still work to do." Valana reached into her coat and handed him a small silver device. this will send a message across galaxies. If you ever need me, ... I'll come. Tom took it carefully. Thank you. They looked at each other, both quiet. Then she smiled. This is not goodbye. The next morning, Valana's ship rose into the sky. People watched from rooftops and fields, waving and smiling. Tom stood alone, holding the silver device in his hand. He watched as the ship disappeared into the clouds. Weeks passed. Life moved on. Tom worked every day, helping rebuild schools, hospitals, and homes. He led with kindness, courage, and hope. Sometimes children would ask him, what was she like? The alien woman? Tom would smile and say, she was strong, brave, and she had a good heart. They would always ask, do you think she'll come back? And Tom would answer, yes, one day. At night, he would sometimes sit by the window and look up at the stars. Somewhere out there. Valana was doing the same, watching over her people, teaching them what she had learned from Earth. A warrior had come to destroy, but left as a protector. And a human soldier who had once stood alone, helped save the world with nothing but courage and words. This was the story of a turning point, not just for Earth or for Zyrene, but for all of humanity, because sometimes the greatest power